Alright, so Venom's out. Spoiler warning for Venom. If you haven't seen Venom, maybe you don't want to watch this. If you have seen Venom, which is likely, it actually raked in some pretty good money, which is impressive considering critics fucking hated it. Fans seem to be kind of torn, but a lot of people liked it. If you see my review, you know my stance on Venom. Venom, the character, was actually really cool. The movie around Venom, more specifically, the antagonist element, I felt could have been better. That's where the sequel comes in. We're going to talk about that. This was actually going to be my Venom spoiler talk video, and I thought Venom's a pretty straightforward movie. Venom symbiote, Eddie Brock come together, form Venom. Generic science guy becomes Riot, then Venom stabs his rocket and kills him. The end. And sexy Venom. I mean, my God. When Michelle Williams had the Venom symbiote, she walks up to him. Wow. I found myself a new fantasy. How many of you out there, when you got home, were like, she, Venom, hot? Google images. How many of you? I know you did. Bless you. However, the post-credit scene was legit a great post-credit scene. Setting it up to talk about what I want to see in the sequel, the post-credit scene shows Eddie Brock and he's going to a prison. Right there, I was like, oh, Cletus Cassidy. Has to be. Actually, I'd forgotten to this point that Woody Harrelson was talked about being in this movie and people were like, he's got to be Cletus Cassidy. Turns out you see the back of his head, these curly locks. You see this red hair. He turns around, it's like Woody Harrelson with this Annie wig. He's all... I don't know, that cracks me up. I know Cletus Cassidy has wild red hair, but if he does get a haircut for the sequel, I wouldn't hate it. That wig was a little much. The point is, he's like, when I get out of here, there's gonna be carnage. Then cut to black. If you didn't already know he was Cletus Cassidy, you now know he is, because Cletus Cassidy is Carnage. And that to me is the iconic Venom enemy right there. They had to bring him for the sequel. That's kind of akin to at the end of Batman Begins, Gordon gives Batman this card, he flips it over, it's a Joker card. Come out swinging for the sequel, man. Which I'm actually thrilled that Woody Harrelson is Cletus Cassidy. He's a little older than I would have thought, but I am pretty sure in the 90s, in a world where these Marvel movies might not have ever happened ever. I mean, now, here they are. They're definitely happening. Comic book movies are the thing of movies, but in junior high and high school, for me, all we had was my friends and I talking about who we'd like to see play who. That was like, oh, Woody Harrelson from Natural Born Killers would be perfect Cletus Cassidy.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
So I feel like it took 2.5 decades, but childhood me got really validated just now. Point is, all right, Carnage for the Venom sequel. So what do I want to see? First of all, you have to make that one rated R. I do feel Venom could have benefited from being rated R, but hey, it worked with PG-13. Obviously, did good box office numbers, but I don't know how you do Carnage without an R rating. I just legit don't. I mean, granted, it could be done. Joker kills a lot of people, and he's in PG-13 movies. Maybe it's because I read those Spider-Man novels that were around in the 90s, and then the novels that were a little more graphic than the comic books were. Two in particular, Carnage in New York and Goblin's Revenge had Carnage in them, and he was a fucking bloodthirsty maniac bastard. Just in the descriptions, there's this scene where he takes all these guns from these guards. He has all these guns to their heads. Kind of like Magneto from the first X-Men movie, but imagine Carnage tendrils around all the triggers. He just pulls the triggers and bam, it just describes brain matter splattering on everybody. Another scene, he's in this plane, he wants to take off, he goes to this guy and literally pulls his head off and drops his headless body back in his chair. Goes over to the terminal, holds up the head, and bulls the head down the terminal. It's described like a bloody, soggy football. Just and lands at someone's feet. That's just pretty graphic, and those are the images I have with Carnage. I don't know how you don't show shit like that in a Carnage movie, and I don't know how you do show that and make it PG-13. It has to be R. I also want to see Carnage be tied to Venom. I want the Carnage symbiote to be an offspring of the Venom symbiote. I know it kind of seems like, well, no shit, that's how it is in the comic book kind of situation. But you know how movies are always changing comic book lore and kind of fudging it to make it fit into a movie? And whatever they fudge, whatever they change, they just can't change that. The Carnage symbiote needs to remain the offspring of the Venom symbiote. It can't just be something that came from space, like came from the comet or something like that. Ended up here onto Cletus Cassidy. Now he's Carnage just killing people. Because at that point, Venom taking him down is like he's just taking down any villain, really. There's no bond. There's no feeling of responsibility. There's no weight on their shoulders. But keeping the lore of the Carnage symbiote being the offspring of the Venom symbiote, there's a feeling of responsibility there. There's guilt. There's weight. It's a powerful thing, and I hope they play that up. Venom will be like, we can't run from this fight because there's a direct causality there. There's a direct link. Without us, there would be no him. Venom's not going to run from the responsibility of taking down the villain after he created him, so why did you, Luke? Gun to my head, I don't think they're gonna change that lore for the movie, but it is something I'm really looking forward to seeing. That would add an element of depth to Venom that I think the movie Venom could benefit from. But really, I feel like with this Venom sequel, which I feel like we might actually get, it is the opportunity to fix what I didn't like about the Venom movie. The thing I didn't like most about the movie was the generic antagonist. Now for the sequel, you have Carnage, this mass murdering antagonist that Venom feels responsible for. That takes care of that right there. It's a really with powerful dynamic. Carnage is strong, he's powerful, he is a vicious bastard. Cletus Cassidy, Woody Harrelson's character, he's a serial killer, he killed his own grandma. He was a maniac before the Carnage symbiote got onto him. There's no conflict, there's no fight for control between Cletus Cassidy and the symbiote. No, he has given himself over to it. He's actually so bonded to Carnage, he says I. It's not we are Carnage, it is I am Carnage, because the two have become one. And he's even more insane and bloodthirsty now that he's Carnage than he was when he was Cletus Cassidy. And as you can tell from the post-credit scene, he's a bit nuts already. You think they're gonna call it Carnage Unleashed or Maximum Carnage? There's literally no reason to not call it Maximum Carnage. I feel like this Venom movie is the only Venom mulligan that Venom's gonna get. So this Venom sequel coming out is the only Carnage movie we're actually ever gonna get. Might as well call it Maximum Carnage. In any case, I hope you had a good time in Venom, and I hope you have a good time with the Venom sequel. I'm looking forward to seeing Carnage. I'm looking forward to seeing Venom taking on Carnage. I've literally wanted to see this since the 90s, so this is like Christmas for me. The Venom movie that we have, as it stands, the first one, it's not perfect, but there's enjoyment in there. So here's hoping they do Carnage right. All right, so Carnage in the Venom sequel. What do you think about that? Whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.